The conference room smelled like leather and expensive cologne. 3:17 p.m. Tuesday. Harrison Tech's executive suite on the 26th floor of the Chrysler Building replica downtown. Just sign, Natalie. David pushed the papers across the glass table. His Rolex caught the recessed lighting, anniversary gift, 2 years ago, before everything turned to ash. You're embarrassing yourself. Christina, 24, influencer, 600,000 Instagram followers, examined her reflection in a compact mirror. Her Hermes bag sat on the table like a territorial marker. We have dinner reservations at 7. Can we speed this up? I looked at the document. Severance agreement and release of all claims. My lawyer, their lawyer, really, the one David had insisted I use, had called it more than fair. $25,000 for 8 years of marriage. For building his company from our garage while working 3 jobs. For the coding I'd done at midnight while he slept. For every investor meeting where I'd smiled and played supportive wife while pitching the technology I'd actually developed. David, I kept my voice steady. This company wouldn't exist without me. He laughed. Actually laughed. You answered phones, Nat filed papers. Made coffee for real meetings. He leaned back, arms spread like a king on a throne. I built Harrison Tech. My vision. My connections. My risk. I wrote the algorithm. You wrote an algorithm. I made it profitable. He straightened his Tom Ford tie. Look, I'm being generous here. Most guys wouldn't give their secretary ex-wives anything. Secretary. The word hit like a slap. Christina's phone chimed. She giggled at something, fingers flying across the screen. Babe, the Tesla's charged. We should go soon. The Tesla Model X, crimson red, custom interior. I'd suggested the color, back when we meant something. But let me take you back. 3 months earlier. That's when I stopped being naive. 3 months earlier, the hospital fluorescence turned everything corpse gray. 1:43 a.m. Mount Sinai Medical Center. My mother's cancer had returned, stage 4, the oncologist said, voice gentle but firm. David's text arrived while I held her hand. Can't make it. Investor crisis. You understand. I understood. I'd understood through 47 investor crises. Through late nights that smelled like perfume that wasn't mine. Through credit card statements showing jewelry I'd never received. Sweetheart. Mom's voice was paper thin. You're too good for this. He's under pressure. The Series C funding, the funding you made possible. Her grip tightened. Does he know who you really are? Mom, does he? I looked away. Through the window, the city glowed like scattered diamonds. Somewhere out there, David was probably with her. The woman whose lingerie I'd found in his car. The woman he thought I was too stupid to know about. He knows I'm Natalie Chun. That's enough. Is it? Mom's eyes, still sharp despite the morphine, fixed on mine. When are you going to tell him the rest? Never, I'd thought. Because I'd loved him. Because I believed in the fairy tale. Girl meets boy. Girl helps boy build dream. Boy and girl live happily ever after. I'd been wrong about the ending. 2 weeks after Mom returned home, diminished but alive, David brought Christina to the office. Everyone, this is Christina Chong. She's joining us as brand ambassador. David's hand rested on her lower back. Possessive. Public. She'll be revolutionizing our social media presence. I was at my desk, the small one by the supply closet, not the executive suite I'd been promised 3 years ago. My clearance anthropology dress felt shabby next to Christina's Zimmerman outfit. Hi. She waved like we were at a sorority mixer. Oh my God. You must be Natalie. David's told me so much about you. I'll bet he had. Welcome to Harrison Tech. I smiled, extended my hand. Her shake was limp. Her eyes swept over me, cataloging, calculating, dismissing. I'd seen that look before, in country clubs I'd crashed for. Research. In boardrooms where old money recognized new money and sneered. She thought she knew what I was. She didn't know anything. The investor gala was black tie. The Plaza Hotel. Ice sculptures and champagne towers, and men in tuxedos discussing portfolios. I wore a dress from Rent the Runway. David wore Armani and Christina like matching accessories. Nah, he found me by the Shrimp Tower. Good, you're here. Listen, stay in the background tonight, okay? These are serious investors. I need to project success. I am your success. The words came out sharper than intended. His jaw tightened. You're my wife. There's a difference. These men are betting millions on me, on my vision, my leadership. I can't have you, confusing the narrative. The narrative. You know what I mean. You're supportive, you're sweet, but you're not. He searched for the word. You're not the face of innovation. Christina appeared, champagne in hand. David, Mr. Rothschild wants to meet you. Come on. She hooked her arm through his. Looked at me. Natalie, could you grab my wrap? I left it at the coat check. Thanks, you're a doll. They walked away. David's hand found her waist. I stood there, in my rental dress, surrounded by people who thought I was nobody. Then my phone buzzed. Victoria Ashford Chin, my mother, using the family name she'd kept private my entire life. Darling, I've made the call. Everything's ready. Are you? I looked across the ballroom. David was laughing. Christina pressed against him. Investors circling like sharks smelling blood. He'd wanted me invisible, insignificant, safe in the shadows where I couldn't threaten his spotlight. He was about to learn what lived in those shadows. I typed back, yes. Let's begin. The email arrived at David's phone while Christina was taking a selfie with Mr. Rothschild's son. 9:47 p.m. Subject line, urgent. Ashford Chin Capital Investment Review. I watched his face go white. David, Christina noticed. What's wrong? He couldn't speak. Just stared at his screen. Ashford Chin Capital. The venture firm that had led Harrison Tech Series A, B, and C funding rounds. $47 million invested over 4 years. They owned 38% of his company. My company, actually. But he didn't know that yet. I need to. David looked around wildly. I need to make a call. Now? We're networking. Christina's pout was pure performance. Now. He practically ran toward the hotel lobby. I sipped my champagne. Check my watch. Any minute now. The second call came at 9:52. Victoria herself, my mother, CFO of Ashford Chin Capital, though the business world knew her as Victoria Ashford. She dropped the Chun when she married my father, Chinese-American tech billionaire Marcus Chun, founder of Chun Global Technologies. I dropped it too when I'd married David. Became Natalie Chin Harrison, then just Natalie Harrison. Simple, anonymous, free. Free to see who David really was when he thought I had nothing. Through the lobby doors, I watched him pace, phone pressed to his ear. Watched his gestures grow frantic. Watched the moment he understood something had shifted. He burst back into the ballroom 10 minutes later. Found me immediately. Natalie, we need to talk. Now. I'm enjoying the party. Now. He grabbed my arm. Not hard enough to bruise, but hard enough to show his panic. We ended up in a service corridor. Blank walls. Fluorescent lights. The elegant party muffled to a distant hum. What did you do? His voice shook. I'm sorry. Ashford Chin Capital is calling an emergency board meeting. Tomorrow. They're reviewing my leadership position. He ran his hands through his hair. Did you say something? To someone. I tilted my head. Who would I say something to, David? I'm just the secretary, remember? This isn't funny. They could remove me. They could take everything. He grabbed my shoulders. Please. If you know anything, if you heard anything, let go of me. He dropped his hands. Nat, I'm sorry. About Christina. About everything. I made mistakes. But this company, it's my life. Our life. You wouldn't destroy that, would you? Our life. Funny how it became our when he was scared. Sign the divorce papers tomorrow, I said quietly. Give me what you think I'm worth. Then we'll see what happens at your board meeting. You know something? His eyes narrowed. How? How would you? He stopped. Something flickered across his face. Your mom. Victoria Chun. She's been helping with your mom's medical bills. I thought that was charity, but he was putting it together. Finally. Chun. He said the name like a revelation. Marcus Chun. Victoria Chun. You said your parents were retired consultants. I didn't lie. They did retire. Dad from Chun Global Technologies. Mom from Ashford Chin Capital. I smiled. I just didn't mention what they retired from. The color drained from his face. No. That's not. My full name is Natalie Ashford Chin. My father founded Chin Global. My mother manages their venture capital arm. They're worth about $8 billion. Give or take the market. I straightened my rental dress. I'm their only child. Why? The word came out strangled. Why would you work in a garage? Code all night. Marry a man who treated me like staff? I met his eyes. Because I wanted to build something real. Something I earned, not inherited. I wanted to know if someone could love me for me, not my last name or my trust fund. Natalie, you couldn't. You loved what you thought I could give you, support, labor, worship. The moment someone shinier came along, you traded me in. I turned toward the door. The board meeting is at 9 a.m. I suggest you prepare. Wait. He blocked my path. Please. I love you. I was stupid, I was wrong, but I love you. We can fix this. I'll end things with Christina. We'll start over. You love me. I laughed. It sounded bitter even to my ears. David, you don't even know me. You never asked about my family, my background, my education. You never wondered how I knew so much about coding, about business strategy, about venture capital. You said you were self-taught. I have a PhD in computer science from MIT. I did my thesis on artificial intelligence pattern recognition algorithms. I paused. The algorithm you built Harrison Tech on? That was my doctoral research. I gave it to you. His mouth opened. Closed. No sound came out. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. Conference room D at the Ashfordshire offices on Park Avenue. Don't be late. I walked past him. Oh, and David, bring a good lawyer. Not the one you had me use. A real one. The next morning, I arrived at the Ashfordshire building at 8:30 a.m. Dressed in Chanel, my real wardrobe, the one I'd kept in my apartment across town. The apartment David didn't know about. Mom was already in the boardroom. 72 years old, cancer thin but steel-spined. She wore St. John and pearls and the expression that made CEOs sweat. Baby girl. She squeezed my hand. You ready? I am. The board filed in. 8 members. All of them had known me since childhood. Uncle James, who'd taught me poker. Aunt Susan, who'd paid for my MIT education. Gerald Rothschild, yes, from the gala, who'd changed my diapers when I was 2. David arrived at 8:58. Christina clung to his arm. She's not on the board, I said. She waits outside. I'm his support. Christina started. Out. Mom's voice could freeze nitrogen. Security escorted her to the lobby. David sat. His lawyer, actually good this time, whispered frantically in his ear. Let's begin. Mom opened her portfolio. Harrison Tech has shown promising growth. However, recent financial irregularities require discussion. Irregularities? David's voice cracked. I pulled out my laptop. Projected financial statements on the screen. Your brand ambassador, Ms. Christina Chong, has been paid $400,000 over 3 months for social media posts that generated minimal engagement. Market rate for her services would be approximately $30,000. I can explain. You've also used company funds to purchase a Tesla Model X, a Patek Philippe watch, and a vacation home in Turks and Caicos. All registered in your personal name, not the company's. His lawyer whispered urgently. David's face went gray. Additionally, I continued, you've been in talks with Marcus Rothschild's son? Yes, from last night. About selling proprietary technology. Technology you don't own, because the IP rights were never properly transferred. What? He stood. That tech is mine. I built it. I stood too. The algorithm, the user interface, the data architecture, all mine. I gave you permission to use it in Harrison Tech, but I never signed over ownership. I paused. My lawyer can explain intellectual property law if needed. The room was silent. David Harrison, Mom said formally. The board votes on your removal as CEO. The vote was 8-0. David's lawyer tried to salvage something. Anything. My client is willing to negotiate terms. No negotiation. Uncle James cut him off. We're installing new leadership. Effective immediately. David looked at me. Really looked, maybe for the first time in 8 years. This is revenge. You're destroying me because I cheated. No, David. I'm correcting a mistake. I closed my laptop. The mistake was giving you credit for my work. The mistake was letting you think you were the genius while I stayed invisible. The mistake was believing you'd see me eventually. I see you now. Too late. Mom's voice was final. Your severance package is generous. 6 months salary. You'll sign a non-compete clause. And you'll return all company property by Friday. The company will die without me. David's voice rose. Investors trust me. Clients know me. You're nothing without my face on this. Actually, Gerald Rothschild spoke up. We've known about Ms. Ashfordshire's involvement from the beginning. Her mother informed us during series of funding. We invested in her technology, not your salesmanship. David's face went from gray to crimson. You all knew? This whole time, we knew. Uncle James smiled. We watched. We waited to see if you'd recognize brilliance when it was sitting next to you. You failed. Who's replacing me? David's voice was hollow. Mom looked at me. We'll announce the new CEO this afternoon. Board meeting adjourned. Christina was in the lobby, scrolling Instagram. She looked up when David emerged, pale and shaking. Baby? What happened? Did they? It's over. Everything's over. He walked past her toward the elevators. Wait, David, what about us? What about our trip to Monaco? She chased him in her Louboutins. David, I watched from the boardroom windows as they argued in the lobby. Watched Christina's face transform from confusion to fury. Watched her storm out when she realized the money was gone. Love built on bank accounts doesn't survive bankruptcy. The press release went out at 2 p.m. Natalie Harrison, named CEO of Harrison Tech. Company rebrands as Chun Harrison Technologies. My photo, the real me, in Armani, hairstyled, makeup professional, ran in TechCrunch, Bloomberg, Forbes. The articles told the story carefully. Brilliant young CEO steps out from behind the scenes, takes control of the company she built from scratch. David's name appeared in paragraph 7. Former CEO removed following financial irregularities and IP disputes. He tried calling 17 times that first day. I blocked his number. Christina tried to. Sent a furious DM about betrayal, about lies, about how I'd ruined her relationship. I didn't respond. Her follower count was already dropping. Turns out people only cared about her when she was attached to money. 3 months later, I was working late, my actual office, the corner suite with views of Central Park, when Mom called. Sweetheart, David's in the lobby. Security says he's been waiting for an hour. I closed my laptop. Send him away. I thought you'd say that. But honey, he brought something. I don't care what. Divorce papers. The real ones. Giving you full credit for all IP, all original contributions to Harrison Tech. His lawyer says it's a complete surrender of claims. I was silent. Your choice, Mom said. Always your choice. I thought about the girl I'd been. The one who'd worked 3 jobs to help David lease garage space. Who'd coded until her fingers cramped. Who'd believed in love enough to hide her wealth, her education, her real name. That girl had wanted him to love her for herself. This woman knew better. Tell security to accept the papers. Then escort him out. Not even a conversation? We have nothing to talk about. He wants absolution. I'm not in the business of forgiveness. I paused. I'm in the business of building things. Real things. That's enough. 6 months after that, Chun Harrison Technologies went public. IPO valued at $1.2 billion. I kept my shares, bought out Ashford Capitals. Stake with my own money, became majority owner. The company I'd built in a garage while David slept. Mine. Finally, completely mine. I started a fellowship program for women in tech. Full funding, mentorship, no questions about background or credentials. Just talent and drive. The first cohort graduated last month. 20 women, all brilliant, all hungry. They reminded me of who I'd been at 23. Full of fire, ready to prove themselves. But I made sure they knew something I'd had to learn the hard way. You don't have to hide your light to find love. You don't have to play small to be valued. And you never, ever give credit for your work to someone who won't give you the same respect. I saw David once more accidentally. Coffee shop in Soho, 8 months after everything. He was alone, unshaven, wearing clothes I didn't recognize, ordinary, cheap. He'd aged 10 years in less than 1. He saw me too. Started to approach. Stopped when he saw my expression. I didn't hate him anymore. Didn't love him either. Didn't feel much of anything except a distant sort of pity. He'd had something real. A partner who believed in him. Who'd given him everything. He'd traded it for Instagram likes and a Tesla. I left the coffee shop. Had a board meeting in 20 minutes. A product launch in 2 weeks. A life that was wholly, completely mine. Mom called while I was in the car. How are you, sweetheart? Really? Happy, I said. And meant it. The revenge hadn't been in David's downfall, though that was satisfying. It had been in this. I'd taken everything he'd stolen, my work, my credit, my voice, and built an empire from it. An empire with my name on the door. He'd wanted me invisible, had needed me small so he could feel big. Instead, I'd grown enormous. Built something so bright he'd spend the rest of his life in its shadow. That's the thing about underestimating quiet women. We're not weak. We're just waiting. And when we finally speak, we don't whisper. We roar.